Hi, everyone. My name is Mark Olsen. I'm a writer with the Los Angeles Times. I wrote a regular feature called Indie Focus. You can follow along on the Twitter at Indie Focus. Thank you so much for sticking around tonight. Please join me in welcoming two of the cast from the Bling Ring. We've got, Katie Chang and Taissa Farmiga. I know Israel Broussard was going to be with us, but apparently Kennadi's stuck in Pasadena, which I think we all know the feeling. The first thing I just want to ask the two of you is that it was barely 2 weeks ago now, I think, that the film had its world premiere at the Cannes Film Festival, and so few of us will have the opportunity to, walk the steps of the Grand Palais there, and I'm sort of wondering what was that like? And I mean, especially for the two of you, as this being so early in your career, and I think this is only your first feature film. I mean, what was that like to have that be sort of like your entry into this world?
I don't know. You don't know how to feel. It's just there's a big crazy world that's thrown at you, and you kind of just have to walk up the steps and turn around and smile. But it was so nice to have Sofia there, and Katie and Israel and Claire and Emma. And it's nice to have the support of people you trust by you, and just keep you grounded as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's the most anxiety-inducing experience I've ever had in my entire life. Like, doing the film seems small compared to being at Cannes now, but I don't know. I don't think it would have been any more better had these people not been there with me. And the cool thing is that they really love Sofia over there. So to have that really warm welcome and, people are already excited in the film, it made us that much more confident in it.
Has it been confusing at all that, especially with this film in particular, to sort of enter the sort of world of glamour and promotion and sort of in some ways the celebrity industrial complex, and with this one in particular, and for the way in which it sort of in some ways is such an attack on that world, has it seemed strange to sort of be promoting the world and being entering this sort of glamour world in talking about this movie?
Yeah, I mean, there seems to be a bit of a contradiction between what the movie's trying to tell us and then what we're actually doing nowadays. But the good thing is that, I mean, speaking specifically to us, we have, very good people around us. And that's the difference between us and this movie, I think, is that we have parents.
I thought you were going to say, us and the rest of the cast. I was like, whoa.
No, I'm talking about our moms. I mean the people in the movie, Taissa.
Oops.
No, we have good parents, and that's the problem with these kids. Their parents weren't involved, or maybe Nikki's mom was too involved. I don't know.
Well, that brings up a question of how much research or what kind of research did you do, and did Sofia have any sort of specific instructions for what she did or didn't want you all to do to prepare for the film?
I think she gave us a lot of freedom in preparing our characters. I mean, she set the guidelines. She gave us, she told us to watch a bunch of reality television shows like The Hills and Pretty Wild, which is what mine and Emma's characters are based off those two girls. So we kind of had a little bit more insight into them. But we brought not a lot of ourselves. We brought some part of our personality into the characters to make them different and not exactly like the real people. Just someone who would exist in this world. And I don't know, just a bunch of reality television show. I sat there for hours and I enjoyed it.
The truth comes out.
And did you have kind of the same process?
Yeah, I mean, the really cool thing was that we got to see at least two of the characters, and maybe the little sister was involved, in the reality television show. So, the show definitely had a bit of a scripted feel to it, but you still got to see some sort of those people, and that was fun. I didn't play one of those characters, but it was fun to kind of see the people that my character was friends with, I guess. And then the girl that my character is based off of, she hasn't done any press or publicity surrounding this. She's pretty much closed herself off, which is probably a good thing. Which then I had to realize that, there has to be a creation of some sort of a character there. And the cool thing is that Sofia really does give you the freedom, but if you have questions, she's right there. And I had a lot of questions. And she would talk to me a lot about, reading Vogue and Elle, different fashion magazines, and then also cultivating a relationship with Israel so that the relationship between Mark and Rebecca felt sincere. And so we spent a lot of time together, and all of us did, actually.
Yeah, I think that really helped all of us actually getting together and just seeing the chemistry between the five of us. Because we got along, and that was nice to actually have people you enjoyed working with and you didn't go on set and hate them. So, yeah, it was nice to play off each other, and yeah, I like the cast that Sofia picked.
We had scheduled bonding time.
Oh.
We had an entire week where we just were forced to hang out together.
I don't like the word scheduled.
But it didn't feel scheduled towards the end of the week because we actually got along, which was amazing.
I know. I texted you you want to hang out? I'm bored. You seem cool.
I emailed her before I got on set, and I was like, it's really nice. I'm excited that we're going to meet each other, and I can't wait to meet you. And
the first time she emailed me was a week before shooting, and I thought Katie would be exactly like her character, and she's the furthest from it. So she sent me this email oh, I'm so excited to meet you, and I'm like, that sounds so fake.
and I found this out last night, too. So
she was very sincere. I hope.
Thank you. Well, you'll see. I'll whip her out. Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the casting process, because Katie, you are a high school student in Chicago, which doesn't seem to make you a candidate for this film. So how did you come to get the part?
I have no idea. No, it was really once in a lifetime. It's difficult to base other experiences that I'm going to have in the future off of this because this is so out of this world, really. What I had been doing, I started taking acting classes in 8th grade at a studio in Chicago called the Wilmette Theater, the Actors Training Center. And I took every class that they offered and took them again and again and really fell in love with the film classes that I had taken and started to narrow in on that and would take every workshop that was available. And one of those workshops happened to be taught by a casting director from New York. And afterwards, he emailed my mom and the director of the theater and said, I'm moving to management. I don't want to be casting anymore. I'd really love to manage Katie. And nobody in Chicago has a manager, so everybody was like, don't do it. It's weird. It's shady. That's not what you want to be doing. But I was excited, and he seemed like a genuine guy. Good thing that he was. He turned out to be good. And so we started working together, and I would whatever he sent to me, I would tape in Chicago and send out. And I have a great acting coach there as well. And one of those projects ended up being the Bling Ring. And so we taped an interview because Sofia, she works really. It's unlike any audition I think I've ever had. I don't know if you agree.
Well, it was completely different. The casting for me was completely different.
Yeah.
I was the last one cast.
Well, what happened is she would ask for an interview, you just talking about yourself, about, in my case, my heritage, because, heritage is something that was with the real girl. She's Korean and I'm Korean. And then also school and what I like to do in my free time. And I then flew out, and it was the same scenario when I met Sofia, talking about myself, what I was interested in, having a conversation with her. And then a month later, that's when I first saw sides and scenes. And so I kept auditioning with that for a couple months, flew out again, and then booked it.
And Taissa, what was your experience?
For me, I think it was just a couple weeks before shooting. I got an email from the casting directors, sent just to me. Usually it's sent to the agent and the manager, and it was very private, and please don't share it. And so I called my manager, what do I do? Okay. She said, so I put myself on tape, and I don't know, I was a little nervous because Sam's so different from me, and I was like, do I even want to try for it? It's Sofia Coppola. Of course I want to try for it. And put myself on tape, sent it out. I find out later that day that she likes it. She sends me the actual script. I only had, I think it was 2 pages of sides to audition with. And she sent me the script in the Vanity Fair article, and I was captivated. I was completely shocked by the story because I hadn't heard of it before then. And I was confused by the character, and I kind of wanted to understand her, even though I don't know if I still do. But it was an interesting experience. So then I actually flew out to LA. I met Sofia, and she's so sweet and soft-spoken, and she's got this quiet confidence. It it was weird because it was completely different from any other director I've ever worked with. They've got not a bigger presence, but you see them move around a lot more and their voice is louder. And I don't know, Sofia doesn't have to do that. You want to pay attention to her. And I don't know, I met her. I saw the posters, not posters, there's like not storyboard, just inspirational photos of like girls partying and stuff like that. And I got excited about it. And yeah, a week and a half later, I was on set shooting.
And I want to be sure to ask the both of you about the script itself, because Sofia's sort of screenwriting is unusual. I mean, sort of famously, her scripts are not very long, are much shorter than most people's. And so I'm wondering, what is there in that script as it is for you to sort of go on? Like, are they scenes, you know, with sort of dialogue and descriptions as you might have in a conventional script, and there's just less of it? Or what's in those scripts?
Yeah, I mean, I think Sofia told us right at the beginning, we did a table read, and she said it was her first table read in years. She had never had a big enough script to have a table read. And so it was only about 80 pages, which for a feature is really short. I'm told, I don't know anything. And so we were reading it, and, you know, we would start to rehearse the scene, and then, you know, we would stop rehearsing the scene with the dialogue she had written, and she would say, okay, now just go, just improvise, and just be kids, and, you know, live in the characters. And a lot of what you see on the screen was us kind of following her direction and then taking it to our own heights. And, you know, Claire, she's from LA, so we used a lot of her, she printed out a whole sheet of LA slang that we used in the film. What I realized is that Sofia, she writes these scenes more as guidelines, and she's not married to the words. She really gives you freedom to collaborate with the people that you're in the scene with, and then, again, taking your character to new heights to really improvise and utilize the freedom that she gives you.
And she's got such a creative mind. So there's not much on the paper, but I knew that she was going to bring something beautiful to it. And just looking at the pictures and inspiration and what she had on her wall for the board was like, wow, this already looks so much fun. And I mean, I don't know, on set, she just brought it on set. I knew she would bring something. I don't know. I mean, Sofia Coppola, I don't know. I was just...
Well, I think it's interesting because I think as she's developed as a filmmaker, she's obviously become less interested in plot and sort of storytelling and much more interested in just like vibe and mood. Yeah. And I'm sort of really curious, how does she communicate that to you? Like, how does she get you on the sort of the same page as her?
She is so interesting. Whenever she sets us up for a scene, it's never, you know, you stand there, and you say this to her, and then turn here and face that, and then go. You know, it's more, she sits us down before we rehearse and goes, so you guys have been out all night partying, and you're really tired, and you don't want to be at school, and you just got this awful hungover, you know, thing going on, and you really just want to get out of here. Okay? Rehearse. And then right before we start the scene actually filming, she'll do the same spiel again and just remind us of where we've been before we're there in the scene. And then I only heard her say action once. She always sits back in her chair and says, yeah. Okay, go. We're like, okay.
Okay, when you're ready.
Yeah,
and she sets it, and she gives it to you. It's like,
am I supposed to speak now?
Yeah.
But now, Taissa, especially the scenes with Leslie Mann and sort of at the house, like those are the most obviously sort of pitched to comedy or in some sense as satire. And again, is Sofia making that sort of tonal shift of those scenes clear to you, or like how are you all? I mean, in some ways, I don't know if you're sort of playing off Leslie, and so it's like you sort of know you're supposed to be a little funnier in those scenes.
I think we're just playing off each other. We got along so well, and Leslie is amazing, and she's so funny. So just being on set, you get on set and you feel what Sofia's feeling, and that's where I would go from. I mean, you can prepare all you want, but it's once you get on set, things change. You never know what to expect, and it was mostly just being in the moment, seeing Leslie crack her joke, and it's not even a joke. She's just a funny person, and I don't know. It's just mostly playing off each other, which is really nice to have that freedom to work with actors and have Sofia be so open to it.
And now, Katie, I want to ask in particular, even people who don't particularly care for the film, everyone talks about the Audrina Patridge robbery scene, and I'm really curious how that was done, like, had you sort of worked out the timing? Were you being communicated to as far as like how to get from room to room, especially because you're having to both move around within the room and then also somehow be relating to the Zoom that's happening? So what was the process of like how was that scene created?
Sure. So really early in the production phase of the film, Harris Savides, our cinematographer who has since passed, he wanted to do that shot. That was his shot. That's what he was planning on doing. And then they had taken it out. But then he passed away, and Chris Blauvelt, the guy that took over for him, who does a fantastic job with the rest of the film, he said, you know what, we got to put this in. This was Harris's shot. We have to put this one in. And so they did a bunch of location scouting and found this one really cool glass house that was across from like a ravine. And so they got another house, put the camera up across the ravine, and faced it on the perfect side of the glass house where you can kind of see everything. And Israel and I got to set. It was like 11. We were tired. And they said, okay, you guys are going to be doing a lot of running. And we looked at each other and we were like, awesome. Because when I was younger, my version of doing a movie was like an action movie. You know what I mean? Jumping off of cars and stuff like that. And this was like the one moment that felt like an action movie. And so basically we just took an hour with our AD and mapped out where everybody was going to be and when we had to be here, when the other person was there. And then they just kind of let us loose through the house. And we had like, they told us we had 30 seconds, and the shot is not 30 seconds. It's like a minute and a half or something, but we were running like we had 30 seconds. And it was so much fun. You know, it was a lot to remember, but that's when it felt like we were really like robbing a house, like the energy, the adrenaline. It was really perfect, and you can't see our faces, but it's almost more perfect that way. It feels really distant, I think.
And one thing I want to be sure to ask was, you were saying how you as sort of a group all really bonded and were getting along well, and it's interesting that most of you don't have a lot of experience with films, but then there is one of you who does have a lot of experience with Emma Watson, and so how was she sort of integrated in the group? Did it feel like? Did she feel like part of the group in the same way that maybe the two of you were sort of bonding? Like, what was the experience like of having someone who in some ways was at this sort of other level who sort of had to integrate into the group?
I think we all had special relationships with each other, but I think Emma fit right in. When we're on set and we're playing a bunch of kids who love to party, she was right there with us. Even though, she's had the experience, but she still loves being on set. She still loves making movies. So that energy of everything being so new and shiny and like, wow, I'm on set, I think she still kept it. And she's so sweet and she's so down to earth, so it's so easy to connect with her.
Yeah, absolutely. I think at the same time, we all had that moment where we were like, oh, I'm in a movie with Emma Watson. This is pretty cool. And the great thing about her is that she's aware of who she is, but she's not obsessed with it. She is so professional and so sweet and is really willing to be kind of the person that knows more and allow us to learn from her. And that was really helpful. Right. Having it being my first film, I didn't know anything about lighting or hitting my mark or projection or anything. And I learned a lot just by watching her, do a scene and how she would kind of pivot her body to get the light or give a delivery that was really well calculated and thought about. I think we all learned a lot from her.
And then now, Katie, you mentioned how you sort of had a lot of questions for Sofia with regards to your character, and it is interesting that in so many ways your character remains somewhat unknowable through the course of the story. I guess I'm not asking necessarily like, do you like this girl, but I guess in some ways what is your relationship to her as like a character and sort of an idea of a person as you're trying to bring her to life?
I found one of the scariest things was that there's not much information about the girl given in the script, nor is there much information in real life. And as an actor, I find that that's both really exciting and scary because you have to do all the work yourself, kind of. Obviously with Sofia, she was a huge help. But realizing that you're going to have to make that, character what you make it's a little frightening, and I was really worried that I wouldn't make the right choices. And so what really happened is I think you have to kind of draw a little bit of yourself into it when you have nothing else to give to the character, no information, nothing to service it other than yourself. And so unfortunately you don't get to see a lot of this, but for each of these girls, I think there's a genuine lack of self-worth and a huge, huge, huge amount of self-consciousness. And you might not see it in Rebecca, but I've found that that was the only way I could really comprehend her, was that that lack of self-worth, that needing to be better than she was the driving force behind going out and getting those things, because maybe those things, they could validate her existence. And that sounds really overdramatic, but at the root of it, the self-conscious...
She's a teenager.
Yeah, exactly. At the root of it, the self-consciousness, it's something that's in most teenage girls, and I'm sure in myself, and that's how I was able to relate, and I think in all of us. Yeah.
Well, Taissa, since you did have the reality show to sort of go by as far as your character, did you feel like that gave you, like, I guess, did you feel any sort of extra responsibility, or did you, like, to what extent did either one of you care about the real story, or were you just sort of concerned with Sofia's version of whatever the real story was?
I mean, when I first heard about it, I was very interested in this story. But when I watched Pretty Wild, it was just, I think it was just the starting point. I wasn't going to be playing Tess. I'm playing a version of a girl who would rob these celebrities' houses. So it was nice to see where she would start, but I don't think I could ever actually fully portray Tess. She's very different from me. And Sam's different from me, but that's why I was able to change her a bit and insert a bit of my personality, and or take my fun-loving self and multiply that by like 20 and turn that into Sam. Because it was, I don't know, you have to find something in these characters that you relate to, or that feels natural. Otherwise it's, I don't know, it's scary trying to be the real person. I don't think Sofia wanted to make it all about these kids again. It was more about the story, and just, this is what happened, and she just told the story.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, you know, I think that's why she wanted us to create actual relationships and friendships outside of filming, because she wanted it to be as real as possible and as maybe separated as possible from the actual group, so that we became our own thing. One scene that I talk about, and she sometimes gets mad at me, is the gun scene that Taissa does with Israel. I'm kidding. I talk about it every time. You knew I was going to bring it up. Be prepared. What's amazing about that scene is that there's so much of Sam in it, but when I watch it, at least, I see that bit of Taissa that she exploited and used, because, you know, she is just... No, but not, you know, I see the part that you used, because, you know, she is, it really was you messing with Israel, and
Absolutely.
It was Sam messing with Mark, and it was just amazing to see her use that little bit of herself and then completely take it to new heights. Every time I see it, I get chills. And whenever I see it, everybody around me goes, "Oh my God, what's she doing?" Everybody gets really scared. It's an incredible scene.
I know, how was that moment created? I mean, like, did Israel know what you were or weren't going to be doing? I mean, obviously he knows that it's not an actual gun that's actually loaded, but like, how did you sort of bring that about?
No, Israel did not know what I was going to do. Israel never knows what I'm going to do. No, I don't know. It was, well, for one, it was a rubber gun, but you bring a weapon on set and all of a sudden the atmosphere changes. And it's kind of like, whoa. And you know it's fake, but I don't know, it's a deadly weapon. And I don't know, there was nothing choreographed. It's kind of like, all right, Sam, the script says Sam dances around with a gun. So I'm like, all right, Sophia's like, let's just go for it. So I start spinning and waving it, and then I see Mark there. I'm like, what's up? And just go over and start messing with him. And I don't know, it was intense. I don't know, I just kind of went for it, and then that happened. So I don't know. I can't even tell you. I was in Sam the whole time, so Taissa doesn't remember what happened.
I know,
That's the best excuse.
Trying to avoid the question. I can't answer it.
I know, I'd seen the movie a little while ago, and it's been interesting to me, like, after seeing the movie, like, as you're sort of driving around in Los Angeles and sort of going around, like, now whenever I see a group of, like, young people who are, like, out shopping or something...
You just grab your wallet and hug it a little
suddenly
closer.
seem much more sinister, and it's something that I find really interesting in the movie. And I'm going to ask you, as two young people who perhaps are like emissaries of a certain generation, like, what do you think this movie is saying, sort of, about the young people of today? And also, in making the movie, did it make you think or rethink about what you're like? Are you maybe on Facebook a little less, or Instagramming a little less?
Actually,
than
yeah.
you might have been?
we've been getting this question a lot, kind of dancing around the question of like, what's the message of this film? What are we supposed to take away from it? And we all trip around the answer because I don't think any of us really, we don't really know, because the greatest thing that Sofia does with the film is she doesn't impose a message or an opinion on you. I think the idea was to leave you with, this crazy kind of roller coaster of, the robbing and, oh my gosh, that looks like fun, kind of, and that bag is cute, and these kids are having fun, but then they face the consequences, and it's sobering. And then the last scene that you get is Nikki staring at the camera saying, you can follow everything about me and my story. And hopefully it's a little unsettling. There's a bit of a contradiction between what you were feeling at the beginning and now what you feel at the end. I don't know if you have another opinion, but...
No. Sorry. No. That's exactly it with, in the beginning, these kids look like they're having, these kids are having so much fun, and it's attractive, and it's like, hey, I want to do that. We all like shiny things and pretty clothes, and then these things happen, they get the consequences. But at the end, they still won't own up to it. They still won't admit that, okay, hey, I did this. Okay, Mark's the only one who's feeling guilty, and I think that's why the audience can sympathize with him, because that's what a normal person does. You feel guilty when you've done something wrong. And then, but what the movie ends on isn't the kids feeling guilty. The movie ends on Emma's character, Nikki, like you just said, being like, okay, anyway, you can follow me, and you know what I mean? And it's like, so self-obsessed, and just look at me, and I want to be popular, and even though I just did all these bad things, I didn't really do them, but And I think it just talks about this obsession with celebrities and people wanting to be famous because they think it's, I don't know, they think it's attractive, and people don't realize they do realize these celebrities are just people, but through social media like Twitter and Instagram, and the fans feel so close to these celebrities. Like it's like almost on a personal level. Like, hey, you're my friend. I follow you. You tweet pictures of your breakfast. That's so cool. And it's just, I don't know. The boundaries are becoming blurred, and there's lines you shouldn't cross, and these kids cross them, and they don't feel remorse. And that's kind of like, whoa, please see this movie and see a warning. And I don't know what's going to happen if this continues.
Well, I feel like it's at least slightly notable. It's interesting to me that Paris Hilton has been appearing on behalf of the movie. She was in Cannes with the film. She was at the premiere of the film just last night. And so in some ways so we have a few minutes for questions from the audience. Did anyone have any questions? Right here.
Were you at Paris's house when you were there? Did you take anything?
Did you in fact take anything from Paris's house?
Well, Katie, no, I'm too good.
What did you think about it?
Well, I did sneak in her fridge.
That's Taissa's thing. She always goes in the fridge. We did a mock.
I'm hungry.
We did a mock break-in like our first week, and the first thing she went to was the fridge, man.
I was trying to get into it. I'm sure these kids would be hungry. You get your adrenaline
because I was hungry too. It was genius.
I'm just looking out for you.
I know. No, did you want anything at Paris's house?
I would have felt way too bad. It's like this poor woman. These kids, they were in this exact house. Like we were following their footsteps almost precisely where they were. They were in her closet, and they stole things, and we were pretending to steal things. But it was actually Paris's things we were rifling through, and
Yeah, we didn't do any set decoration. Everything you see in the movie is hers.
So I felt like I was violating her, just touching her stuff and opening her underwear drawer. So like to take anything, I would have been like, no.
But we were very lucky to be able to be in that space, I think. She was super cool about it, so yeah.
But now that also reminds me, now when you all were in Cannes with the film, there was a string of burglaries that were occurring during the festival.
We didn't do it.
I was with Katie.
I was with Taissa.
And we've got a question towards the back there.
I want to know what was in the bag where everyone's going, ew, ew.
Oh, yeah.
It
Nobody's
was
asked that yet.
it was a dog carrier for Paris's dog, so it was a piece of dog poop. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Ew.
And we got a question right there.
With all the improv and everything, do you guys do a lot of takes, few takes? Like,
And
let's
the question has to do with the improvs that we do. Would you do a lot of takes? Would you do long takes, or like sort of what was the process for doing the improv?
I think it depended on the scene and the cast of characters. When we were all together, all 5 of us, often it was she would just kind of turn the camera on and let us do what we wanted.
Yeah, I feel like it would go on for a little while. And
Exactly.
She would take pieces from here. And
Exactly.
there, and
I remember the scene that you see in the movie when Emma's on the pole and Taissa drops her glass. That was, that was just us. You dropping a glass.
That was
yeah.
us. That was us messing around.
Yeah.
I didn't even know if we were actually rolling. I thought it was a rehearsal.
Me too.
So that was us being us.
Yeah.
Wait, that sounds really bad.
No. But for scenes where, there had to be Jesus. For scenes where there had to be specific things that were gotten across, some of the earlier scenes when you're first meeting the characters, there was more of a following the script and then multiple takes just to make sure that we were getting what Sofia wanted.
And anybody else? I think we got time for 1 or 2 more. Yep, right there.
What were you snorting?
Lactose. And you still get the drips, even if it's not Coke, so I don't recommend it.
You know what the drips are?
Because I went up to Sofia and I said, "What's happening in my neck?" And she goes, "Hold on, let me ask someone." And she grabbed our cinematographer and he goes, "Yeah, you got the drips." I was like, "Is that gonna hurt? Am I gonna wake up tomorrow?" No, it was like powdered milk, lactose, yeah, and it wasn't very good.
Anyone else? Nope. Well, oh sure, one more.
The shot of the house, when you were leaving, I saw you kind of went to the left and then you corrected and went back around. Was that planned? Or was that...
No, I thought we could get out that way. And we couldn't. And the reason I wanted to go that way is because the way that we came, you walk on like the thinnest path next to the pool. And we were carrying all these bags and I was like, somebody's going to fall and it's definitely going to be me. So I wanted to be able to go, but it was a glass fence and then straight down a canyon. So we had to go back the other way.
Well, please, everyone, join. Everyone, first of all, check your bags and wallets, and then
I've been here the entire
You've
time.
seen us.
and then please.
Wait,
thank
Israel's not here.
Oh, Israel's crawling around grabbing all of your stuff.
And join me in thanking from the Bling Ring, Katie Chang, Taissa Farmiga.
Thank you, Pat.